Le quatrième trio n'a pas nécessairement besoin d'avoir un rôle spécifique différent.
C'est quoi tu verrais de ce rôle-là?
It was a pretty big news day today. Something happened that shook the core of the NHL and everybody's talking about it. I think a lot of people have been waiting for this news. Does the name Connor mean anything to you? Fans of the team or not? And we've finally gotten the news. The New York Rangers have agreed to terms with forward Connor Sheary on a 1-year contract. We can all just relax, stop talking about it, and move on with another chapter. I'm just kidding, obviously. The Oilers have signed Connor McDavid to a 2-year contract at an incredibly low AAV of $12.5 million. What does this mean for the league? What does this mean for others that are waiting for their turn? Well, I will talk about that, but what I really want to focus in on was meltdown St. Louis' comments earlier today about the Montreal Canadiens and his vision for the lineup. Let's talk about it.
Come on over here. Come on over here. No, you let me off. Come on, coward. No. Come on. You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
It's really nice of Florida and Tampa to put them through this type of gauntlet in preseason. I mean, sure, Montreal and Ottawa had their moments, but these two teams are like dismantling each other. From the October 4th preseason game, 322 penalty minutes, 16 ejections. Calve is fined $3,125. Schmidt fined $2,098.52. Sabourin suspended for 4 games. And Mosher suspended for 2 games. But let's not stop there. Tampa Bay has been fined $100,000 and coach John Cooper has been fined $25,000. That's not pocket change. John Cooper is going to have to check the sofa to come up with the rest of the money. So those fines were a fun bit of news that we found out about today. A day that had no shortage of news. I think my favorite news is that we've reached 16,000 subscribers. I said that's what I wanted to do before the season started, but we've gone and done even better. 16,126 subscribers as of editing this video tonight. That's fantastic, guys. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support. And here's to a great season. Those of you who aren't part of the community yet, hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to join. While I'm doing this, I also want to thank our new members. And then finally, thank you, Nico. I really appreciate it, buddy. So I already touched on the McDavid thing. Do I want to talk about that first? No, because I have a couple of things to talk about on that topic. So let's instead talk about Cayden Primeau again. Remember him? It's Sammy Blais. So the Montreal Canadiens parted ways with Cayden Primeau. Primeau got an opportunity over in Carolina. Carolina, I guess, didn't like the cut of his jib. They played him in a couple of preseason games. I guess they didn't like what he looked like, and they waived him. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs picked him up because they're having a little bit of goalie woes right now. So kid looks good in the AHL. Maybe his skills don't transfer well to the NHL. So sadly, we might see Cayden Primeau in some Marley colors. But more sadly, I think, is Sammy Blais was waived by the Montreal Canadiens yesterday with the intention of him, playing some time down with the Rocket. Toronto scooped him. So Toronto picking up some Canadian players there. But the particularly sad part with Blais is he's going to see some time with the big team. In fact, he probably is going to be in the lineup against Montreal. Coach Berube had some time with Blais in St. Louis, so it tracks, it makes sense. It's just unfortunate because this was not the intention of the team. We wanted to see Blais down with the Rocket. And that last night of preseason, he performed excellently for us, so kind of rough. On the other hand, good for Sammy Blais. You're going to find some time in the show. Hey, maybe you have to do some dirty business like, play for Toronto. Now let's talk about Connor McDavid and his long and arduous saga on whether or not he was going to re-sign in Edmonton and for how long and how much and blah, 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 blah. He has finally signed a contract for $12.5 million for 2 years. He's leaving a lot of money on the table. Like we're talking like $10 million? Something like that. Yeah, probably more than that, right? What I thought was funny is they signed Jake Wallman right after they announced the McDavid extension. Wallman got the full contract, 7 by 7. It almost feels like they said, hey, Wallman, we just found $7 million. Do you want to keep playing with us? Seeing Wallman sign that type of contract makes me wonder how much Mike Matheson could get on the market. But I think the real story here for Habs fans is what's going to happen with Lane Hutson now. All these significant contract signings, and it's mostly went the other way. Kaprizov asking for $17 million. Luke Hughes getting the bag, becoming the highest paid Hughes brother at $9 million annually. And then Jackson Lacombe somehow getting 8x9 AAV out of Anaheim management, who are stingy. A bunch of rumors and a bunch of sourced information is coming out of the woodwork. And to me, the most notable was from Elliot Friedman saying that the two camps were close to moving in on a deal around the $9 million mark, but had to take a step back because things were getting a little bit too emotional. I don't like that. I don't like how much is spilling over into the media. Usually when Kent Hughes does his business, it is pretty quiet and you learn about it as it's being shared publicly. So yeah, it concerns me just a little bit, but I think they ultimately will reach a decision and it's going to be a great one for the Montreal Canadiens organization. For the life of me, I can't picture a contract that would age poorly for Lane Hutson, a realistic contract. Let me know your thoughts on that. Like, I think 11 million is an unrealistic number, but would you be sad if Hutson signed for 11 million? I think I'd be still okay with it. I think everybody is prepared for $10 million or less. And I think it will be like a 9.25. Maybe he matches with Dobson, 9.5. It's awkward. It's a little awkward. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you think about that. I'm going to move on because I think I said my piece. Now, moving on to what I thought was the most interesting news of the day. Meltdown St. Louis press scrum with a bunch of reporters after the practice this morning. So there was an intense moment, and I don't think that Meltdown St. Louis was targeting this one journalist particularly. I think he liked the question that he was being asked. They were talking in regards to the composition of the lineup and the forward lineup. I was thinking of just putting up the entire interview because I can do that. It's not ever claimed by copyright by the Canadiens. Mais c'est tout en français. Donc, beaucoup de you guys won't understand what he's saying. So I'll paraphrase it. I'm happy to say that I understand a lot of the French that's used in these little press scrums. I'm honestly learning French by following this team, I swear. Essentially, St. Louis is talking about how everyone on the team has to pull their own weight and they all have to have a certain amount of grit. Most importantly, 5-on-5. The journalist says everyone needs to have a certain amount of grit. Doesn't the fourth line have to be more of the gritty line? And St. Louis says, what do you mean by that? And the journalist says something along the lines of, well, typically the fourth line is composed of more robust players. To which Meltdown St. Louis says, when you're watching the Stanley Cup competing teams in the playoffs, do all those lines have a certain amount of grit and sandpaper? And the journalist says, yeah, some more than others. And St. Louis retorts and says, it's easier for some players to bring that amount of grit and sandpaper to their game, but it's about creating a identity, an image for the team. And it's so easy to draw the parallels to what is currently happening with Patrik Laine, Kirby Dach, and Ivan Demidov. They're all being split. They're all being split down after the first line. First line has it together. First line works really well because they're a powerful offensive line. Slavkovsky is learning to bring some amount of grit, but Nick Suzuki is an excellent two-way player. He is always driving the play north. Further, you look down the lines, the way they're currently composed, the more you see the comparisons that you can draw between the first line and the second line and the third line and the fourth line. It's balancing. He's balancing these lines. Yeah, and eventually there might be a clear-cut second line, a clear-cut third line, a clear-cut fourth line. But the way it is now, there's a first line and 3 second lines. This is where I love St. Louis, and I also am very worried about his coaching style. It's a new age approach. I love it, and I think what works so well with it is that he has the captive audience of this entire team who I believe really respects him and has formed that bond together that, they don't want the team to fail. They want to do their best. That's just a feeling though. Take that with a grain of salt, but it's hard not to have some sort of an emotional attachment to this team. He goes further to say, there's players on the team that, of course, it comes easier to be gritty. And he uses Cole Caulfield as an example. Years ago, Cole Caulfield, defense, it wasn't as if he was actively trying not to participate in defense, but he couldn't bring a lot to the table. He didn't have those skills in his toolbox yet. Now, you see him swooping in. He's like a drive-by type guy on the defense, right? I find Caulfield's very effective when there needs to be some hard back checking and some sticks getting into the road. He didn't have that before. And even the physicality that he brings it harder now than he did before. I think that's a natural progression, but I think he's also been challenged to do that by St. Louis. Same goes for Newhook. And I really do think that Newhook will find some comfort on the second PK because he has some really good fundamental defensive skills. All that being said, I have cautioned you guys before about maybe potentially another slow start to the season. Now that I know kind of what's going on and the strategy behind that, I'm not as worried anymore. If they can find like a defensive equilibrium with the lines, with the forward lines, I'm not going to be holding my breath when Patrik Laine, Kirby Dach, and Ivan Demidov are all on the ice and the puck goes into the defensive zone. That was like a little bit of a video essay about what I think is going to happen with the lines. Some of it is certainly opinion and certainly up for debate, but let me know what you think. Am I on track with that? What do you think looking at these lines? We were thinking Demidov, Dach, and Laine all off-season, right? And now it's Newhook, Kapanen, Demidov, Bolduc, Dach, Gallagher, Laine, Evans, Anderson. They're all broken up. Maybe it's a little bit of a message from St. Louis saying, hey, you guys, your defensive liabilities, you can't all be on the same line. So until you fix that, we're not going to see a Laine, Dach, and Demidov second line. And personally, I don't think that that's the winning line anyway. Let me know your thoughts. That's going to do it for me, guys. This video, I had pretty good timing on this video, I think. I wanted to get this out tonight, but you know what? It was so hard getting my 5-year-old to bed. He's doing one of those, I don't want to go to bed and wake up for school tomorrow. Are you kidding me? And I do you guys have any tips for that? I've been saying, you love school, buddy. You're going to wake up and you're going to play outside. Bell rings. You're going to go inside and play inside with your friends and get to sleep because you need sleep. Sleep's good for you. It makes you feel better, blah, blah, blah. But he's not falling for it. Anyway, it took me a while to get him to bed, so I only got on this video late. I'm going to try to edit it this quick. So outside of the intro, which I think is an awesome intro, don't expect too much great editing. You guys know what to do. Hit that like button. Helps me out with algorithm stuff. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'd love to have you as part of this community. And as always, I will see you down in the comments.